Mangwani Malelepo Vokenjani Kwas Vanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. As usual, you're joined by Ashwin Berry and a very special lady because it is also her birthday today. Aina Raiza Koyo. Happy birthday, colleague.
Thank you very much. Happy Friday, everyone. Today is Data Privacy Day. How much information about you is freely available to strangers? How much access do you grant social networks to your likes, hobbies, and personal information? Data Privacy Day encourages you to ask all these kinds of questions and to look after, value, and protect your privacy. And here is more on Data Privacy Day. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. In our top stories, M23 rebel group resumes military activities. A new attack attributed to the March 23 movement, which also calls itself Congolese Revolutionary Army, targeted a Congolese army post in Ruchuru territory on Tuesday, a few kilometers north of the town of Goma. Local sources and civil society say that around 20 soldiers were killed in the fighting. The Congolese army forces confirm the clashes between not the high number of casualties. They confirmed, however, that a colonel was among the victims. Casualties were recorded on the rebel side, but there are no sources to confirm the number. Yesterday, the military governor of the province visited the region to comfort the troops. Some military sources believe that the aim of the M23 is to get the government's attention to secure new talks. The movement has been accused of attacking military bases since last October.
Now in our second story, Mozambican officials swept away by river while inspecting damage of tropical storm Ana. A convoy of Mozambican officials inspecting damage from tropical storm Ana was swept away by a swollen river on Wednesday, leaving one person dead and another missing. The car was trying to cross the Revuboe River after a bridge had collapsed when Ana tore through the region earlier this week. Tete Provincial Governor Domingos Viola said the team wasn't able to retrieve one of the cars. A radio journalist was rescued from the vehicle, while Provincial Administrator Jose Maria Mandere was later found dead, Viola said. A third person remains missing. We immediately set to work and managed to rescue most of the occupants of the vehicles, Viola said. The death brought to 47 the number of people killed in Madagascar, Mozambique, and Malawi as a result of torrential rains that sparked floods across the region.
3 miners dead after being hit by collapsing houses in Tolo. 3 children have died while 7 others were left injured in Tolo after being hit by collapsing houses following heavy downpour. According to Tolo District Commissioner Douglas Moffat, the preliminary assessment indicates that Cyclone Ana has also affected 2,560 households. Currently, 179 people are in 4 camps in Traditional Authority Tukuta. The report shows that houses have been damaged, crops submerged and washed away. Meanwhile, Makungwa Ward Councillor Idris Hausi has called for assistance since the affected households have lost everything. President Lazarus Chakwera has declared the district affected by Tropical Cyclone Anna as areas of disaster.
Now we swing over to Ethiopia as Ethiopia lifts state of emergency amid improving security situation. The Ethiopian government on Wednesday decided to end the 6-month state of emergency ahead of its expiration amid improving security situation. The Ethiopian Council of Ministers decided to shorten the 6-month state of emergency pending endorsement by the Ethiopian House of People's Representatives, the lower house of the Ethiopian Parliament. The council attributed the termination of the state of emergency due to changes in the security situation. Since November, the Ethiopian government has been undertaking military operations against the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Fighting had expanded during the final quarter of 2021 to more areas, including the neighboring Afar and Amhara regions, eventually pushing millions into urgent humanitarian need and misery.
Burkina Faso junta tells ousted minister not to leave the country. Burkina Faso's ousted president, Roch Marc Christian Kabore, is physically well and is being held by the army in a villa, a source in his party said on Wednesday. Kabore's state and whereabouts have been a key issue since he was overthrown by soldiers on Monday. Kabore is still in the hands of the army in a presidential villa under house arrest, sources said. Burkina Faso is now in the hands of Patriotic Movement for Preservation and Restoration, which has announced a suspension of the constitution and dissolution of the government and parliament and closed land and their borders. Minister of the ousted government on Wednesday were told not to leave the country unless given permission, political sources said. MPP Vice President Clement Sawadogo said that the Prime Minister Lassina Zebro, who was appointed by Kabore in December, has also been detained.
New COVID variant, no cause for concern, says NICD. The National Institute of Communicable Diseases says the latest known COVID-19 variant, BA2, is not a cause for concern yet. The new version of the virus is a descendant of the Omicron variant, now referred to as BA1, that was responsible for the country's 4th wave of infections. BA2 was first identified in South Africa and India in late December 2021. Although other sublineages have been identified, they have not been in the public eye due to the increase in cases of people who have contracted the BA2 variant. There is currently no evidence that suggests that BA2 is more contagious or escapes immunity better than the original BA1. Research Professor Penny Moore from NICD and WITS has given reassurance that it is not necessary to panic. South Africa has seen a decrease in infections following a huge surge late last year.
Ghanaians shy away from COVID-19 tests due to fear of stigma. The fear of stigma is a key factor that made many Ghanaians shy away from taking COVID-19 tests, and this is according to the Ghana Statistical Service. The report, based on data collected in the first 2 weeks of December 2021, said 81.8% of respondents indicated that either none or only a few people get tested for COVID-19 in their communities when they showed relevant symptoms. The most common reason for that was the stigma around testing positive for COVID-19, said the report, adding that only 5.9% of respondents mentioned the unavailability or distance to the testing facilities in their communities. The report also showed that the number of people tested in urban areas was slightly higher than that in rural areas. As for COVID-19's impact on household incomes, 2/3 of the households said that their income had not recovered to pre-pandemic levels, the report showed.
In our next story, 100 newborns die every week in Zambia, according to Minister. Mistakes made during childbirth lead to the deaths of more than 100 babies in Zambia every week, according to the country's health minister, Sylvia Masebo. Speaking at the university teaching hospitals in the capital, the minister said that between 10 and 15 women die each week due to preventable complications from pregnancy or childbirth. According to local media, majority of these stillbirths, maternal and newborn deaths could be avoided through the provision of safe and quality care by skilled health professionals. The minister called for the adoption of comprehensive health systems and community-based approaches. Stillbirth remains a major public health problem in Africa. According to research, every year an estimated 2.6 million stillbirths occur worldwide, with up to 98% occurring in low and middle income countries. Now, according to the WHO, an estimated 830 women die from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. The organization further states that 99% of all maternal deaths occur in developing countries.
In our next story, global tech super bubble shows signs of bursting. Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency, is trading 20% lower in January and 42% rather lower than last November. Nasdaq, home to Apple, Microsoft, Amazon and Meta, is 11% lower since the 1st of January. And the ARK Innovation ETF, renowned for bold punts on the riskiest, most glamorous player in tech, pharma and crypto, is down 25% this year. Companies within the ARK fund include Tesla, which went down 23.5%, retail trading from Robinhood down 30%, crypto information provider Coinbase down 65.4%, amongst others.
Now, in the last of our top stories, UAE lifts ban on flights from Tanzania and Kenya. Travelers from Tanzania and Kenya will be allowed to enter into Dubai from Saturday, January 29, after the United Arab Emirates lifted a ban it had imposed all inbound and transit passenger flights since last year. Reliable sources say the ban was lifted on Wednesday night, offering a major relief to hundreds of travelers from the two East African nations. UAE barred entry of flights from Tanzania and Kenya on December 20, 2021 after establishing that travelers from Dar es Salaam and Nairobi were testing positive for COVID-19 on arrival in the Middle Eastern country despite presenting negative test results. However, passengers from Uganda, Ghana and Rwanda will still be subjected strict entry requirements into Dubai. Dubai is opening its borders to Kenya days after Nairobi lifted a retaliatory ban on all inbound and transit passenger flights from the Middle East nation it had imposed 2 weeks ago. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we'll be talking about the Walk for Love Connect Africa event. You know, I walk for exercise, I walk for necessity, but I don't necessarily always walk for love. It's going to be interesting. Stick around. See you soon.
Thank you very much for joining us. For our interview today, NMH's Elanis met chats to Joseph Kafunda, who's the chairperson of the Emerging Tourism Enterprise Association and the coordinator in Namibia for the Walk for Love Connect Africa event. He also elaborates on the challenges of tour guides that tour guides faces in Namibia now more than ever.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Kafunda. I'm the chairperson of Emerging Tourism Enterprise. At the same time, I've been selected as a coordinator for what is known as Walk for Love, a Pan-African project that is initiated by a brother in Nigeria and a sister in South Africa, so that we can raise awareness and support the tourism industry that has been so crippled by the pandemic. So Walk for Love, it's a one-day event which is going to be taking place on the 12th of February. We have two coordinators in Namibia. We have one of the coordinator here in Windhoek, and we have another coordinator in the coastal town of Walvis Bay. But the events will be taking place in Swakopmund. Venue is not yet determined, but we are busy trying to negotiate with Tiger Reef so that we can have the events hosted at Tiger Reef. So basically, Walk for Love, it's just for us as a tourism industry and people within the community to come and work together in the support of the industries, especially when it comes to tour guides. Tour guides were the mostly affected by this pandemic, and they didn't get any support, they didn't get any press, they didn't get anything. So we are thinking of how can we be able to empower them by Walk of Love. So we are inviting each and everyone who is willing to come in and sponsor, because there will be some medals, there will be some drinks, water, and certificate will be also printed, because this is the first initiative or first time we're initiating such an initiative. So we're looking to continuously doing this initiative until a certain time. So that is what For Love is all about. It's an African initiative.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about the tour guides and how they were affected now during COVID-19?
Tour guides, me being one of them as well. What happened during the COVID pandemic is that most of us who were permanent or permanent employee, we got retrenched after the first 3 months with no support, no benefits whatsoever. And Namibia has an open field for tourism industry. And tourist guides, majority of them, let me say like 70 to 75%, are what we call freelance guides. Freelance guides, they come work for the season, or they work for a tour operator when the tourism is on a peak. And after that, they go do their daily or businesses, whatever they have to do. So most of those freelance, they have not worked for 2 years. They have tried to reach out to the government. We have tried to reach out to the Namibian Tourism Board so that we can have an initiative that can be able to support the tourist guides. And so far, nothing has borne fruits. And when we try to regulate or ask the government so that the tourist guide can be regulated, there's always a hiccup. There's always something that doesn't go as planned. So it's created a backlog of tour guides not being assisted or not being helped during the pandemic. So it's really, really have affected a lot of them. And we know some of them who have lost houses, lost vehicles, lost their entire integrity just due to the pandemic. So it was a very, very awful period.
And how will this help if the tour guides are being regulated? How will that help the sector?
It will give them, first of all, the sense of belonging, because at the moment they are wobbly, they don't know to which association or which labor, whatever they belong to, and they can be able to fight this even in court, because they are considered as employee. And being considered as an employee in this country, you have certain benefits that you can be able to get. A tourist guide cannot even be able to register himself at Social Security, because they will ask you, where's your proof of payments or proof of salary? And that creates, again, another discrimination in the tourism industry. Tour guides has been completely discriminated. Currently, what is happening is that tour guides are being forced to be vaccinated, otherwise you don't work. Even although we know we have faced the pandemic, how can you ask someone to be vaccinated by force? Vaccine is supposed to be mandatory, not by force. So tour guides, we need to stand, the government need to come on board and assist the tour guides right now, because otherwise it will be chaos. And they don't want to walk on the street, or we don't want to walk on the street where we're going to be marching just because we are being forced to do something that is against our integrities.
Tell me a little bit about training for tour guides in Namibia. Is there anything like that in Namibia?
Namibia do have a couple of trainings. Wilderness do run their own private training school, We have the Namibian NATH run also their own training academy. And then we have the Namibian Training Authority, which is the highest body which has to credit the tour guides. So those processes already been done. There's a curriculum or there's a standard units that people use in the tourism industry. So the standard units that people use in the tourism industry, it's known and it has already been gazetted, already have the qualification by NQA. So we don't know why is the delay in regulating the tourism guides in this country.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Now, on Thursday, the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Namibia hosted a workshop to discuss women's rights in order to draft an alternate report to the government's CEDAW report, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women mechanism. The church, with partner stakeholders under the Council of Churches, have spoken to rural communities, including women and youth, to investigate the status of women and Namibia and what forms of discrimination they still grapple with. Have a look.
I feel like we're in a country where women are still subjected to poverty, women are still subjected to abuse, women are still subjected to lower their standards, and women don't have a voice. And I feel like this workshop is giving women a voice. I think one of the key highlights that I took from the meeting is we had a female bishop who was saying, as a woman, it has to start with inner confidence.
Galatians 3 verse 28. Once again, there is no difference between races, genders, social standing. We are all one in Jesus. So in the light of all of this, is there any merit in the church or society to still oppress, exclude, marginalize women?
In our society, we have inherited old cultures that were cultures of respect that somehow changed into cultures of oppression without us realizing that or knowing that. And I've come to share with the sisters and brothers here the message that I see in Scripture, that the relationship between men and women is not a relationship of hierarchy, one is better, stronger, cleverer than the other, but that we are in partnership. That is what the Old Testament, I believe, teaches us, and that is what Jesus teaches us. And when we get into a position of leadership and authority, whether it be in church, in parliament, in regions, in society, in municipalities, it is for us to remain true to who we are as women and to remember those women in the country who still feel very much excluded, oppressed and marginalized for many ways.
We have realized as the church that despite different interventions that has been made by government to improve the status of women, there's still major challenges that remains. In particular, issues relating to violence against women and so on, and some of the cultural practices that still keeps women behind. Sometimes, as we heard at this workshop, the Bible and the church scriptures have been used to keep women behind and discriminate against. So, as a church, we thought that it was high time that we come out also and to say that you cannot discriminate in the name of the church or using selected scriptures. So we felt that we also are key stakeholders that must address this issue. And an opportunity also arose through the Lutheran World Federation, where they had some support available to do this work. So we invited the Lutheran churches in Namibia to participate in this. So we also felt that Lutheran Church alone cannot do this. That's why we did this under the auspices of the Council of Churches in Namibia, and so that we can also involve other churches. Other civil society organizations are also here. So this is really a church and civil society partnership.
The Namibian government has sent a report to CEDAW saying how they have improved on all these different articles on how to support women. So we have gone out and we've done workshops with the youth, young women, and we've spoken to some rural women as well to see what are their thoughts on what the report says. Has the government really reported correctly what they're saying? Is there no more discrimination against women? How are how is the government helping the women in Namibia to be less discriminated? So basically we are bringing back today the reports from the women and the youth, so that we can basically share with the civil society organizations that are present here on what the woman has said on the ground. How accurate is the information that is submitted, and what can we do as a civil society to assist in writing an ultimate report to CEDAW?
We hope that after the submission of this report, when the committee sits in March this year, afterwards, when the committee makes recommendations about how Namibia can further improve the status of women, we'll be able to sit with government and do a plan of action, which hopefully will get some resources from government for implementation, because this has been some of the criticism, like the National Action Plan on Violence Against Women. There's been a very good action plan, very ambitious, but lack of resources, lack of budgetary support for that plan, and it has not been effectively implemented. So we are
a truly important conversation that needs to be had. Now, something else that needs to be had is good weather, not just because it's Anna's birthday, but because we all deserve it on a Friday. Let's check out the forecast.
Happy Friday. We thank you very much for joining us. Namibia is considered to have the freest press on the continent, an achievement celebrated by many. The country's ICT ministry compiled a video featuring the line ministry and local journalists to capture what this means. Have a look.
Namibia is world-renowned for her freedom of expression, especially media freedom. Namibia has traversed a long journey in freedom of speech and expression, independent and pluralistic media, and universal access, as well as human rights records since her independence in 1990.
The Namibian Constitution has guaranteed media freedom because it talks about freedom of the press, freedom of association, and freedom of speech. In that context, it has guaranteed media freedom under the chapter that deals with fundamental rights. Namibia's observance of media freedom by the Namibian government and has been in terms of what has been provided for in the constitution. It is for that reason that Namibia has been praised as one of the countries with media freedom, being the first or the best in Africa. As you know, no journalist has been arrested or tortured or killed in Namibia for reporting, whether factual or infactual.
This country knows the value of freedom. Of course, there is no country which is immune from the challenges I mentioned, but this young republic is the top-ranked African country in the World Press Freedom Index. What a victory this is.
Most notable is that the World Press Freedom Day was born in Namibia in 1991. This came about after the adoption of the much-lauded Windhoek Declaration by the African journalists, which advocated for a free, independent and pluralistic media in the land of the brave.
No journalist or media practitioner or any resident of this country has been threatened, ganged, imprisoned, tortured or killed in Namibia for any reason. I therefore take this opportunity to unreservedly reaffirm the Namibian government's commitment to press freedom as expressed in our constitution.
It goes without saying that support for a free press is an investment in the furtherance of a knowledge-based society, and not only that, an investment in strong and healthy democracies. Information as a public good is definitely an idea worth supporting, and it's in the interests of all of us to do so.
I must say the government has hugely improved over the long term. The access to information has improved tremendously. I think it's much a result of what the government over time saw happening in as much that the media was able to actually assist them. So this whole thing is a partnership, and it would be good if we all understood that it needs to be a partnership in every possible way, not only in some occasions.
Voices from Namibian journalists on press freedom.
With Namibia ranked #1 in Africa in press freedom and 24th in the world, we are truly blessed, and we are truly entrusted as journalists to ensure that the information that we put out there is done ethically. And at the end of the day, we just want to ensure that the voices of the voiceless are heard by everyone out there in a fair and unbiased way.
And whenever we cover demonstrations and protests, we also feel safe enough to do so and take photos, ask the people, talk to them. And also the people, not only the government, are quite responsive to the media all in all and appreciate our work.
Only good to realize that Namibia is actually free when it comes to freedom. When I heard other journalists from other countries telling their stories of how it is difficult to practice the craft, but here in Namibia, it's paradise when it comes to media freedom.
Like we've seen in social media and everywhere else in society, I think we see more young people speaking up and speaking their minds. And I'm just a representative of the young people out there, and I speak my mind on air. I speak my mind in my personal capacity. So I think there's a lot of freedom of speech. I'm not restricted here.
Press freedom is considered as a good thing, and we are free to voice our voices, and we inform without being oppressed.
I'm really excited, and there are opportunities here for, as the country is growing, as the population is growing, and as journalists are being recognized, in Africa, Southern Africa especially, there are great opportunities for young people to pursue a career in journalism.
Namibia is committed to keeping a good working relationship between the media and government in order to ensure an informed citizenry.
You know, media freedom is important, but so is freedom of expression. Did you see those beautiful colors on that dancing? Got to love Namibia. All right, let's get straight into our economic news stories. And we start off in Angola as Angola begins consultations on graduation to middle-income country. The government of Angola and the United Nations held the first consultation on graduation as part of the improvement of the monitoring mechanism of the process of upgrading from least developed countries to middle-income countries. The meeting served to evaluate the measures that are being implemented by the government for the smooth transition strategy with a view to overcoming the criteria of social development and the vulnerabilities of economic diversification which are associated with the oil price stock. In the international markets, the COVID-19 pandemic will have weighed on the country to obtain an additional 3-year extension of graduation initially scheduled for 2021. Report states that the UN Development Policy Committee praised the efforts of the Angolan government aimed at the productive capacity of the country with the implementation of active and demanding trade policies within the framework of the Economic Partnership Agreement, SADC, and the Continental Free Trade Area.
Financial Corporation begins guarantee lending schemes. The Financial Corporation has begun lending operation under the Small-Scale Enterprise Loan Guarantee Scheme with the Central Bank of Eswatini. This latest move means qualifying small and medium enterprises now can access much larger loans worth up to 1 million from Eswatini Development Finance Corporation, repay them over a longer period of 5 years. Now, the Financial Corporation is one of the SSELGs participating lending institutions that have recently been endorsed by the central bank. Now, they announced that it will roll out the SSELG's loan under the new product called Sisekelo, which has been added to the already existing loans.
All right, in our next story, Telkom loses 1 billion in value after Ramaphosa sets the SIU on the fixed line operator. Telkom's botched expansion into Nigeria and Mauritius almost 16 years ago has come back to bite the fixed line operator. It is now caught up in a damaging dust-up with President Cyril Ramaphosa and SA's elite law enforcement body. In a surprise move, Ramaphosa asked the Special Investigating Unit to launch an investigation into Telecom's affairs for possible corruption and malfeasance relating to, among other things, its dealings with Nigeria and Mauritius going as far back as 1 June 2006. Telkom said it would deal with the investigation on its merits in the appropriate forum, in the appropriate manner, at the appropriate time. Since the SIU's investigation was made known, Telkom's share price fell by 3.7%, wiping out nearly 1 billion rand from its value on the JSE.
Naspers under increasing pressure. The South African group Naspers has completely transformed itself after investing early in the Chinese giant TechNet. But in recent years, the latest success has created problems. The Chinese authorities, by attacking digital players, have complicated the matter. More than ever, Bob van Dijk, the CEO of Naspers, finds himself on the front line of the financial markets, the largest capitalization on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and its subsidiary Prosus, and which is listed in both Amsterdam and Johannesburg, have seen their share prices fall almost a year, respectively -25% and -23%, yet their results are largely positive. Naspers made a profit of 5.3 billion during the last financial year ending March 2021 on sales of 29.6 billion. With no real solution in sight, the leader took a gamble in early January and personally buying around 115 million rand worth of Prosus shares in order to restore the investors' confidence.
That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Now, over the weekend, you can expect the AFCON quarterfinals as well as the Australian Open final. And Ari Hochart will be back right after these next indicators. Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Now we have so much to expect this weekend with regards to sports, but there's only one man that can take us through it all, and his name is Ari Hochart. He's in South Africa with the sports package. Ari, take it away.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin. It's nice to talk some sport, and it's Friday, and then the weekend sport is waiting for us. And the big news still is the African Cup of Nations. It's a big tournament. It is Africa's tournament, Africa's proud tournament. There were some surprises leading up to the to the quarterfinals. Some big teams that's out of the tournament, Nigeria and Ghana, for instance. But let's look at what's happening this weekend. Tomorrow, the first quarterfinals will be host Cameroon that play against Gambia. And then that will be followed tomorrow by Burkina Faso that will play against Tunisia. Tunisia that knocked out Nigeria in the earlier round of 16. And then on Sunday, it is Egypt that will play Morocco. And also the second game on Sunday will be Senegal against Equatorial Guinea. So those are big games, the 8 teams still in the tournament. And games, the quarterfinals will be played, like I say, tomorrow and on Sunday. And then the semi-finals will be played this coming Wednesday and Thursday. Also news from the African Cup of Nations is that the Ghana's coach Miluslav Rajovic, he was fired. That was just 8 days after Ghana exited the tournament. And the Ghana battled in the tournament, didn't go through the group stages, and they also lost 3-2 against the Comores. So Ghana coach, no longer the coach of Ghana. And let's move on to some tennis news. Big tennis happening at the moment as we speak. It is the semi-finals of the men's tournament that is going on. It is Rafael Nadal that is playing Matteo Berrettini, but yeah, that is Rafael Nadal. He's on court at the moment. He's playing Matteo Berrettini of Italy, and Rafael Nadal did well in the first 2 sets. He won the first 2 sets just a while ago, 6-3, 6-2. So it seems like he's on his way to the final. Nadal, of course, is trying to become the first player ever to reach 21 Grand Slam wins. He's sharing 20 at the moment with Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer, but both of them, obviously, like we know, not playing in this year's tournament. The other semi-final will be Stefanos Tsitsipas, and he will play against Daniel Medvedev, and that will be a little bit later on today. And then in the women's final, it will be All-Australian final, or in the Australian Simone, it is the Australian Ashley Barty there in action. She's the first Australian in 44 years to reach the final. So all the Australians will be rooting for her to win the final that will be played tomorrow. So just again, it is at the moment Rafael Nadal on court against Matteo Berrettini. Tied game. They in the third set at the moment, 2-0 to Nadal. On to some cricket news, and there's cricket happening in Australia. That is the women's Ashes or the ladies' Ashes, and that is the cricket in Australia. Firstly, let's just move to West Indies. They're playing against England. That is some action there, and it is England that battled in the West Indies. They lost the third game. West Indies leading the series by 2-1. They made 224 in their innings yesterday. That was the West Indies. That was too much for England to chase. Captain Ewan Morgan out of the fourth game. They play 5 T20 games. Then in the women's Ashes, that's been played in Australia. That is Australia hosting England. The men was just finished recently with Australia winning that against England. But on the results at the moment, they're playing as we speak now. England, Australia in the first innings, 337 for 9 declared. Meg Lanning, 93. And then England battling at the moment. They won 75 for the loss of 8 wickets with Heather Knight, 100 not out. And then also today, it will be the women's South African team that will play against the West Indies counterparts, and that will be played at the Wonders. That is 2 p.m. today. They're going to play 5 or 3 50-over one-day games, and those are the Australian girls. They're battling at the moment against England. So they've got the upper hand. England 175 for 8 as we speak at the moment. The Ashes played in Australia. On to some golf news. There's 2 big tournaments happening this weekend that will finish on Sunday. The first one is the Dubai Desert Classic. That's the lovely Dubai Desert Classic. You won't say that's a desert. It's a lovely golf course with a great setting. After the first round, it was Justin Harding of South Africa that's leading. He went around the course in 7 under par, and he's sharing the lead with Joachim Hansen, also on 7 under par. Big names playing in the tournament. Victor Hovland as well, Rory Sabatini as well. But other South Africans that did well on the first round is Brendan Stone -4 and Eric van Rooyen -3 on the scorecard. And then also across in the United States, it's the Farmers Insurance Tournament that's there. And first, the scores are quite low. First round, Adam Schenk went around the course in 10 under par, and is followed on 7 under par by John Rahm. And scores, they played the second round yesterday already. So Adam Schenk and John Rahm at the moment both on 13 under par. And the Southern African interest there, Christian de Seynout, that's still doing well. He's on 6 under par, about 7 shots behind the leaders at the moment. So that is the golf. Dubai Desert Classic happening in the European Men's Tour, and then the Farmers Insurance Tournament happening on the USA Tour. On to some motor racing news. You can't believe that we had all the excitement of the Max Verstappen winning that close race last year in the last race, but now it is the next season that's starting now. It is just a few weeks to go, or a month or 2 to go. It will be the first race in Bahrain, the 20th of March. But an announcement yesterday from the Formula One organizers is that Singapore committed for the next 7 years to be on the calendar. And the Singapore Grand Prix, that's where they start. It's normally a night race, very exciting. The Singapore Grand Prix will be the 2nd of October. There's going to be 23 races this season, lots of racing to be done. It's not sure if Lewis Hamilton will again race. They have not confirmed with Mercedes if he's going to race this season. Obviously, controversy last year how the season ended. He was very frustrated, so hopefully he can race again. The season will end in Abu Dhabi, the 20th of November. So that's all the sports news. Lots of sports happening for those following the rugby. There's also some rugby in the United Rugby League. It is the Bulls that play the Lions, and the Stormers play the Sharks. So that's the sporting news. I hope your team do well this weekend. All the best with the soccer in Cameroon. And we talk on Monday with all the results. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Ari. Thank you very much for bringing us that comprehensive report. Of course, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for the Stormers. Stick around. Your headlines will be back after the break. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning, as we have been broadcasting live from 7 a.m., bringing you all the news happening on the African continent and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, worry not. Here are the headlines. M23 rebel group resumes military activities. Mozambican officials swept away by river while inspecting damage of tropical storm Anna. 3 miners die after being hit by collapsing houses in Dolo. Ethiopia lifts state of emergency amid improving security situation. Angola begins consultations on graduation to middle-income country. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. That's at Africa Good Morning. We do encourage you to visit our website. It's called One Up To, and this particular show repeats from 8:30 to 9:30. On that note, is all our love and all our light.
Truly, truly enjoy yourselves, enjoy your weekend. I'll be enjoying Anna's birthday. See you Monday.